Hey, what's up guys, Hans here. If you're interested in buying real estate in Germany, then watch this video. I will tell you all about how I was able to buy the past 8 apartments in the south of Germany, how much I pay for them and how I make money with it. In this video, I will particularly tell you all about how I was able to buy my last apartment in the south of Germany in Freiburg, which I've just bought last week and which I think will generate me a profit of roughly 40,000 euros. And I divided this video up into several sections. The first section is all about how I found this apartment on a public website. I will then show you the apartment itself, what it looks like, how big it is, where it is located, and so on. I then take you into my calculation and how I evaluate whether the apartment is a good investment, and thus why I think I made such a big profit. Lastly, I will tell you about my interaction with the realtor, as well as describe the buying procedure here in Germany. And now let's just dive into it. So first, how do you find an apartment like that? For my searches, always use public websites such as Immobilien Scout, eBay Kleinanzeigen, which is the German equivalent to Craigslist in America, for example, and websites like this, and I will link them down below in the comment section, are a really great tool and great websites to find suitable apartments which you can invest into. And I will show you this in more detail in a second. And now I will just take you on my screen and show you exactly how this works. So I usually go to immobilienscout.de. And you can see it here on the screen. I type in the location where I want to buy, in this case Freiburg in the south of Germany. I usually type in to which price or what the maximum price is for which I want to pay. And then you can see the suitable apartments down here. You can click on them, look at the pictures, for example, and that is usually what I do at the beginning. Just get a glance of what the apartment looks like, how big it is, and so on. And obviously look at the price, and especially the price per square meter. In this case, this would be 5,311 euros, which is a rather decent price in Freiburg. You can also go down below, read some more facts about it, and you can also see the exact street on which the apartment is located. What I then usually do is I choose this atlas on Immobilien Scout, where you can just type in the exact address of the apartment, and I click on Preise prüfen, which is like searching for the prices of the apartment. And what you can see here, if you scroll down a bit, is that the square meter are usually 5,600 euros per square meter. And this is the first step. This is how you actually find the apartments themselves. Now, obviously, you're not going to find a really cheap apartment right from the start. It's going to take you a bit to get into the market, to know what the real good prices are. But this could give you an indication of how valuable or whether it's a good price or not. Now, what you can also do is on Immobilien Scout, for example, set up an alarm for when new apartments become published online. And that's also something I would highly recommend. So you type in again the city, the price, for example, the range for which you would like to buy apartments, and then you can save the search result. And you can also indicate that you want to get a push notification on your smartphone, for example, whenever a new apartment is being published. And what's really important here is that the really good prices and the really good apartments with cheap prices, with good offers, usually only last for like a couple of hours on the platform itself, and then they're going to be taken off since so many people are requesting more information about the apartment, which makes sense. So in an ideal scenario, you get a push notification on your phone whenever a new apartment comes online on the platform. And then what I would recommend, you just quickly scroll through the ad, you look at the pictures, you go through the details of the ad, and then you instantly write the realtor a message and telling them that you want to get more information on the apartment itself, such as the exposé, as we call it in German, but also other documentation which is necessary for your calculation. Now, whenever you have received an exposé, something like this, you know where the exact location of the apartment is, and then you can also use the atlas on Immobilien Scout again to check the exact price which is being recommended on that platform. Now, in this case, this was 4,871 euros per square meter for this exact location in St. Georgen in the south of Germany in Freiburg. Now, what you can then do is just calculate a bit, because you obviously know the square meters of the apartment. In this case, I would just calculate the 45 square meters times the amount which was stated on Atlas, and then you sort of know what a good price or what the average price would be on Immobilien Scout. Now, if your price is way below that price, that is usually a good indication that that's a really good offer. And this was actually the case here. So for example, since this apartment is 45 square meters big, you calculate 45 square meters times the average price, which is being shown here on Immobilien Scout, which is 4,900 something. And if you calculate 45 times 4,900 euros per square meters, you get a result of roughly 220,500 euros. This is what Immobilien Scout tells me what the average price on that location, on that exact location would be. Now, since I do know that the offering price is 160,000 euros, so way below that threshold of 220,000, I really know that that's a good deal. Now, as you know, the real estate market in Germany and also other markets are really intransparent. It's not like, for example, compared to stocks where you can just look at the stock price and you know exactly how much money you're getting for your stocks. This is way more intransparent with your real estate or with your apartments. So if you calculate that, you know that it's a really good price. Even if the price would be 180,000, let's say, as an offering price for the apartment, you know that you're still roughly 40,000 euros below the threshold which is being shown on Immobilien Scout. So let's recap. You know that the price, the offering price of the apartment is way below the threshold of the average price which is being shown on Immobilien Scout, so you know it's a really good deal. Next, you have to make sure that you actually do get the deal. As you can imagine, there were several buyers interested in this apartment since it's such a low price. So you really have to make sure to get in contact with the realtor really fast and make sure that you express your interest for this apartment. And that's what I usually do. I call them right away if I know it's a really good deal. I call them immediately when the ad is being published. I try to get in contact with them. If I can't reach them on the phone, I send them emails, but I usually try to call them just to make sure that they know that I'm really interested in the apartment. Then also, if I know it's a really good deal, I usually buy it without even looking at it. So I tell them I'm gonna buy this apartment, we can go to the notary within the next 2 weeks, for example. And I also make sure that I send them a confirmation of my bank that they are able to finance and willing to finance the apartment for me. So what you need to do is talk to your bank, send them all the documentation you need for this apartment, which you have received hopefully by then, and then you get this certification, or we call it Finanzierungsbestätigung here in Germany, which is just a blank paper stating that they finance you for this exact apartment, and which you then hand over to the realtor. And that is precisely what I did. I then sent them an email again stating that I would buy this apartment immediately. I attach the certification from my bank, so that the realtor can be really sure that I have a really high interest in the apartment and that I'm really willing to buy it. Now, in this case, the realtor wanted me to have a look at the apartment first, to, physically go there and have a look at the apartment, the state, the condition it's in, and so on. In this case, I was based in Berlin still, or I still am based in Berlin. So I wasn't able to come to Freiburg myself, but I sent a friend there who just looked at the apartment for like 15 minutes. It really doesn't take long. You just walk through it, talk to the realtor, and that's exactly what my friend did. Afterwards, I highlighted again that I really want to have the apartment, and then I confirmed again in a written email that I'd be willing to buy it for the offering price, or even in that case, I paid 1,000 additional euros on the offering price on top, just to make sure that I really get the apartment. Since I know that the apartment is worth so much more, I knew that even if I paid 165,000, even though it was offered for 160,000 euros, that it would still be a really good deal. However, in this case, I offered 1,000 additional euros, so 161,000 euros for this apartment, just to make sure that I really do get the deal. But before we dig deeper into the buying procedure itself, let's quickly have a look at the apartment itself. And now let's have a look at the apartment, what it looks like, how big it is, and so on. So this, what you can see here on my screen, is the exposé, which is a document you usually get from the realtor after you have expressed your interest. You usually get it by mail, for example, and then you can have a look at it. So this is what it looks like. You can see the house itself for this particular apartment, and the basic information you need to get or to make an educated decision about whether you want to buy this property or not, or at least to get a first glance at it. It tells you exactly where the location of the apartment is. It tells you how many rooms it has. In this case, 1.5 rooms. The square meters, 45 square meters, and when it was built, in this case in 1989. If you scroll down a bit, it tells you some more information about the exact condition of the apartment, what is entailed, for example, a loggia, which you can see here in a second, which is sort of the balcony. It's also written that it has a parking space added to it, which you then also purchase with the apartment. You can see the base offering price, in this case 160,000 euros, some additional information about the realtor, and then some more information about the condition of the apartment. And what is really important, if we scroll down here, are the pictures themselves. Let me zoom in a bit. So you can see the front of the house in this picture here. At a first glance, it makes a really good impression. It's clean, it doesn't look too old. You can see it has white windows, which is usually an indication that they're rather new, and made out of plastic and not wood, for example, which were sort of added into the houses between 1970 and 1990. But what you have to take from this is that it looks like it's in a really good shape, at least the outer hull of the house itself. If we scroll down a bit, you can see the inner condition of the apartment. You can see the living room here on this side. It looks really nice as well, very tidy and clean, not in a bad condition at all. If you scroll down a bit, this is sort of the also living and eating area. You can see the table down here and the loggia, which is the balcony here. And if we have a look at the kitchen, this again also looks very clean, not shady, not too old at all. So this is also in a really good condition. What I really want to highlight here is the bathroom. What you can see always, or usually in Freiburg, are some apartments which have really old bathrooms, meaning old tiles, old appliances. But this one is really has been renewed in the last couple of years, I would say. It has a free hanging toilet, which is also an indication that it's rather new. And overall, it's in a really good condition. As I said before, in Freiburg, you usually have bathrooms which are really old because people who invest in the apartments, they do that at the beginning. They invest in it once, they rent it out for 10 or 20 years. They don't want to bother with it. They don't want to invest more money into it, so they don't do they don't invest much money into, let's say, renovations in the bathroom. And so this is a really good, it's in a really good state here. Then if we scroll down a bit, you can see the loggia. Again, this is sort of the balcony on the top level of the house. So it's sort of integrated into the top level and in my apartment. And this is just a nice area where you can sit if it's sunny, for example. So this is a really nice added bonus. And then lastly, this is a setup again of the apartment. You have the entrance over here on the right, then you have the small bathroom, the kitchen, the sleeping area or the bedroom, and then the living space and the loggia as mentioned. And this is what the exposé looks like. Then if you contact the realtor, you also get a bunch of other additional documents. Usually you get the Abrechnung and the Wirtschaftsplan, which are sort of the documents indicating how the monthly costs are set up, how much you have to pay, and how much also the renter has to pay on a monthly basis. You get other documents such as the Grundbuchauszug, which is relevant for the notary, the Grundriss, which is sort of the above look we just looked at, but also others such as the Lageplan, the rental agreement, the Mietvertrag itself, the Teilungserklärung, also a really relevant document here in Germany, and then other documents such as the protocols from the last years, in which all of the owners come together and decide what the next renovations of the house should be. So that's something really interesting to read through, so you know whether in the next couple of years whether there are going to be some more renovations, and thus for you as an investor additional costs which you have to take into your calculation. So overall, as I said before, a really good impression. Again, Immobilien Scout says that it's worth sort of 4,950 euros per square meters. If you add that up to the 45 square meters which we have, you sort of get a price of 220,000 euros. Also, which is really interesting, if you use Immobilien Scout, you can add your own property. Even though you haven't bought it yet, you can add it, meaning you can add your the exact address of the apartment, the square meters, how many rooms it has, and then it sort of gives you an indication of what Immobilien Scout thinks it's actually worth. You can also add the exact conditions, whether it's in a really good shape or sort of in a regular or average condition, and then based on that it sort of calculates that into one single price, in this case 245,000 euros. Also keep in mind that the data is usually 2 to 3 years old on which this calculation is based, meaning 2 to 3 years back the real estate prices were a bit different over here in Germany. So this might be a bit higher, this indication here, than the price which is sort of realistic. But even if this would be 220,000 instead of 245,000, this would still be a steal. And based on this and my overall calculation, which I will show you here in a second, I knew that this is going to be a great offer, and if I get the apartment, this would be a great deal, and I would potentially make a bit profit with it, even if I buy it now and sell it immediately afterwards, or if I keep it for 10 years and sell it tax-free, but more on that later. Let's quickly have a look at the calculation which I mentioned before. So what I told you before just now is sort of the above look, let's call it that, the initial look at it, whether it's a good purchasing price. But what we're looking at here is sort of the detailed calculation and also the monthly calculation, which is really important. So what you type in here, and I've discussed this spreadsheet before in my other videos, so if you're interested in that, make sure to have a look at it. You type in the address of the apartment, again, the square meters, the purchasing price, in my case 161,000 euros, the offering price was 160,000 euros, but I stated at the beginning immediately that I would purchase it for 1,000 euros more for which it was advertised, so just to make sure that I actually do get the right to buy it, and that the seller is interested in my offer. Again, you can see the square meter price based on this calculation of 3,600 euros. Again, just as a side note, Immobilien Scout says that the average price is 4,900, so you can see again that this is a really good price. Also, what is not included in here is the, as we call it, Stellplatz, the parking space, which is also allocated to this apartment. This is not included in here, which would then also reduce the square meter price again. And however, I just see it as a sort of added bonus in this calculation. Then you also type in the other information which you get, the rental price, for example, in this case 630 euros, which is a bit under rent in Freiburg. This could definitely be increased, and that's something I would do whenever I get the ownership of the apartment. Increase the rent by 20% just to make it more attractive for my calculation and thus for my return on investment. Then you also add the costs which are associated to the apartment, the costs which you can bill the renter for example, for heating, but also other costs. And then there are costs, the non-allocable costs, which you as an investor or owner have to pay, in which you can't pass on to the renter. In this case, only 38 euros per month. Then you also type in your financial data, how much you are financing. In this case, I'm financing the whole purchasing price of 161,000, so 100%. I pay an interest on this on loan of 4%, and I make a yearly payment of 1.5% of the purchasing price back to my bank. Then on the top, or on the right hand side here, you can see the overall return, roughly 5% here, which is not too good in Freiburg. I usually try to get 6% and above. In other areas I would aim for like 10 to 12%. However, as due to the reasons mentioned before, I think this is still a really good price. If you then look at this column over here and the numbers indicated, you can see that I do have a negative cash flow of 150 euros. This is again based on the old rent, which then I'm going to increase whenever I do get ownership. So this is going to reduce, I'd say, to like 100 euros negative per month. But due to the reasons mentioned before, that I knew or that I know that the original purchasing price is so much below the average, I'm happy to pay an additional 100 euros per month on top of it from my own money to keep this apartment and to buy it. So this is what the overall calculation on a monthly basis looks like. Another thing I would like to highlight is just this point down here below, the return on investment of my own money. I'm paying sort of the side costs, as we call it here in Germany, meaning the realtor, the notary, and other costs. I'm paying that from my own money, but I'm getting or I'm financing the whole 161,000 euros from my bank, which means due to the hedge of not only using my own money, but also the bank's money, I do have a really high return on investment on my own money of, in this case, 27.5%. And that's really, really high. If you compare it to other asset classes such as stocks, bonds, or whatever, you know that you usually get a return on investment of like 6 to 8%. And what you can see here, again, due to the hedge, which is only doable sort of with real estate and apartments, your return on investment of your own money is really high. And this is what the overall calculation looks like. Now, I just quickly want to tell you about what the interaction and the process with the realtor was when I was able to buy the apartment. So usually, as I said before, how this works is that you express your interest to the realtor. He or she sends you an email with the exact information on the apartment itself. He or she sends you all of the documents which you need to make an informed decision. And in that case, I immediately knew that it's a really good price, an offering price, and that I would make a big profit if I sell it or buy it and then sell it immediately, or buy it and keep it for 10 years to sell it tax-free, for example. And that is also what I'm aiming for. I'm going to keep it for the next 10 years and then sell it tax-free afterwards. Let's say the price of the apartment in 10 years from now, where the market is sort of heading towards, is 250,000 euros for this apartment, probably even higher, to be honest. However, let's make a conservative guess here and calculation. Let's say it's 250,000 euros. So my profit in this case would be anywhere between, if I do add the 15,000 euros of side costs for the notary and so on, let's say 175,000 euros, I still make a profit of 75,000 euros, which is then in 10 years from now tax-free in Germany. Now, since I knew that the purchasing or the offering price was at such a low level and that I wouldn't make a big profit with it immediately, I also did not have a look at the apartment right away. So I sent the realtor an email stating that I would buy it immediately. I contacted my bank to get some sort of certificate that they'd be willing to finance me for this apartment. So they give you a one-pager and they indicate that they would be willing to finance me for this. And then I send it over to the realtor stating again that I'd be willing to buy the apartment for this price, in this case 161,000 euros. I add the certificate to it so they can be sure that my bank actually finances me. And then what I usually do is I contact the realtor every 2 to 3 days just to make sure that he or she knows that I'm really interested in this apartment. And due to the low price, I knew that there were so many more people interested in buying this apartment. I really want to make sure that I do get it, and that's why I send the realtor regular emails stating, again, I really want to have it. What are the next steps, just to push the realtor into the agreement as fast as possible. Now, in this case, I was not in Freiburg. I'm still living in Berlin, so this would have been like an 8 or 9 hour drive, which I did not want to take. So I had the realtor meet up with the seller at the notary. They sign the contract on their side. In advance, you have to give them your information, meaning your full address, name, tax information, your ID, and so on, so they can set up the contract. They sign it on their side. Then the contract is being sent over to my location here in Berlin. I'm going to go to a notary here in Berlin, sign it from my side, and then it's sort of a valid contract. Now, this ownership transfer process is going to take a couple of months. Usually it takes between 1 to 2 months until the property is fully sort of mine. Now, lastly, what are the next steps? As mentioned before, I want to keep the apartment for 10 years. I finance my loan for the next 10 years, so I locked that in, sort of the interest rate, and this is pretty common over here in Germany. I'm going to keep it for 10 years. I'm going to, within the next couple of months, whenever I do have the full ownership, send the renter a letter that I would like to increase the rent to a reasonable degree, obviously by like 20%, which then makes my calculation even sort of brighter or better for me. And that is it for this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you found this video helpful, let me know in the comment section down below. Also subscribe to my channel If you do have any questions about buying real estate in Germany, also if you're looking for apartments, I'm constantly also selling my apartments every once in a while. Hit me up, send me an email, and I would be happy to send you more information on my apartments. I hope you really enjoyed it. See you guys next time. Take care. Bye.